Want to get more leads from LinkedIn without sounding salesy? Today, our special guest shares his proven method for effective outreach using value offers instead of the traditional pitch. You'll learn what Tom, our special guest here, will tell you all about his value offer and how to create one, and how leading with value can up-level and transform your lead generation game.
This episode of the Lead Machine Growth Show is brought to you by Lead Machine, the step-by-step, tech-easy system for getting leads online. Are you struggling to get leads from your lead magnet? Are you tired of seeing low conversion rates and losing potential customers? It's time to revive your lead magnet and start attracting more leads. Download our free report, 10 Deadly Lead Magnet Mistakes That Are Costing You Leads, and learn how to create a high-converting lead magnet that engages your audience and drives conversions. Don't let common mistakes hold you back any longer. Revive your lead magnet today and download your free report at www.getleadmachine.com/deadly. Welcome to the Lead Machine Growth Show, where you will discover how to tackle your tech, master your message, and design your dream. Paul Guyan, the mastermind behind the Lead Machine, introduces you to trailblazers who inspire you to implement life-changing solutions and systems you can model to nurture your leads and get your offers seen by your ideal clients who will invest in themselves and you. Be sure you visit our website at www.leadmachinegrowthshow.com. While you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now, tune in and get ready to transform your vision into reality.
Welcome to the Lead Machine Growth Show. I'm Paul Guyan, your host, lead machine coach, and the founder of the Lead Machine Mastermind Group and Coaching Program. I'm dedicated to helping you tackle your tech, master your message, and design your dream. And so whether you're just starting out or looking to take your business to the next level, let's get this conversation started and turn your dreams into reality. Well, meet Tom Ryan. He's an expert in referral marketing and the founder of the Referral Program Pros, with over 15 years of experience in the industry working with major brands such as IBM, AT&T, and American Express. In our conversation today, Tom will share his innovative approach to effective outreach using the value offer instead of that sleazy sales pitch that we're all familiar with. He'll also provide some tips on creating that value offer and scaling your outreach without on LinkedIn, especially efficiently. So let's dive in and learn more how to drive leads through the power of value. Oh, by the way, Tom lives in Seattle with his amazing wife and his 2 children. So Tom, hey, welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Paul. I'm really excited to be here. This is going to be fun.
You know, we met each other on LinkedIn, and his offer was kind of I was surprised, because what he did was he did a review of my profile, my LinkedIn profile, and he gave me some tips, and I was a little put off by it at first, and I went, wait a minute, that's different than what most people want to do. They want to get time on my calendar. And so he sent me a link to this to the video, and I went, wow, that is valuable input. And so I was pretty impressed with that, and that's why Tom and I had a chat a couple of weeks ago, and we got to know each other, and so I invited him to be on the show, and I thought it would be valuable for you, the listener, to learn about how you can use LinkedIn, because we're all familiar with that. You get a request, and then it's, hey, we got a lot in common. I see that you're doing this. Let's get on a chat, and I'm going to tell you all about me and what I want to sell you. And that's a real put off. And so I know that Ryan's got something special that he's going to share with us. Before we get that, though, you stumbled onto this. You've been working for 15 years with these major companies, and outreach is your thing. Referrals is super important. What was the ignition that ignited your passion to go off on your own and to do this for a living?
Yeah, good question. So I started in my 20s. I won't give you the whole spiel, but I started in my 20s with a travel company. I was living in Europe for about 5 years in Florence, Italy. And I loved entrepreneurship. I kind of got into it almost by accident, but I really loved it. Kind of didn't realize how much I loved it. And then
Mm.
I kind of got into the corporate world for a period of time, and really liked that as well. But then kind of, I was the COO at a company here in Seattle for a number of years, and then just kind of missed that entrepreneurial drive and spirit. I just kind of want to do something else on my own. And so and during that time, I saw a big gap in the market where people weren't, everybody has a LinkedIn profile, but very few people kind of use it to their
Yeah.
advantage. It's kind of more like a resume that just sort of sits on the shelf a lot of the time.
Uh-huh.
And so I just started seeing like, look, this could be a really effective sales tool, and it's a great way to network, and it doesn't have to be as kind of boring and stuffy as everyone kind of considers it. So that kind of gap in the market got me really inspired to go out and help other people really use it effectively.
And
Here I
so
am today.
you were already doing this then in the corporate world? Is that how
Yeah,
you discovered it?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, my old company kind of doing it for the team there, and just seeing how powerful it was. And the other nice thing is it helped people kind of develop their personal brands a little bit too, which is a big benefit for them. It's almost like a perk of being at the company, as long as you're on board with that kind of thing, to kind of develop your personal brand, and you can take that with you everywhere.
That's interesting. I'm glad that you brought that up because I work with a company too that they're they seem to be worried about the employee, and they think LinkedIn is for just there. It's out there so you can go get a job somewhere else,
Mm-hmm.
and that's kind of a misnomer or a myth. But they're the people that I work with there are very traditional and old school. You work hard and you work up the ladder and you're a loyal employee. And
Mm-hmm.
they're starting to get the idea of the gig economy, but really your people are your most valuable asset. That and your customer list are the top things that you've got to protect. But at the end of the day, you've also I know that the younger the people are that are in your organization, the more likely is that they're going to move on at some point, maybe sooner rather than later. But while they're there, I think it's on beholden to the employer to develop them and help them with their career, because so they learn skills with you that they can take on to their next job. And I think that's just giving back to the community, and that's really building loyalty, and that's a way to get people to want to come to your company, knowing that the younger generation is going to continue to cycle. They're going to cycle. My youngest, or my middle son, he's 23, I think, 20, 22, 23.
Mm-hmm.
And he's had 8 jobs already. I haven't had 8 jobs in my entire career, and I'm 65, and I've been around the block. I've been in IT in marketing for 40 plus years, and I could probably count the jobs I've had for sure on a 5 or 6 maybe. I haven't counted them, but yeah, that's the way it is. And
Right.
so developing that personal profile, I think, is important. And there you have a brand, and the individuals do have a brand, and that's something you need to develop over time,
Yeah.
especially if you're going to be moving on, or like me, I'm working on my brand and moving into coaching and moving into retirement and doing other things with my music and with my coaching and with my wife's business. And so, yeah, it's super important. So
Yeah.
sorry about that tangent, but I think it's important that we do that we do build a brand, and your services certainly helped me kind of say, okay, I need to reevaluate this. What's the most important thing I can do to improve my profile?
Yeah, I think companies can either kind of fight it and try to control it, or just realize that hey, this could actually be a perk or a benefit of working here, is we're going to help you develop your personal brand and fight to make it so that you really love working here. And I think that's probably the approach that works better for most companies.
Well, in one of my friends, Bill Marsh Jr., he owns a automotive group. He and his family, and they've been in business in the area that I live in for 50 years. And I was in a mastermind group with him, and that's what they're doing. They're developing their talent, knowing that they're going to move on, and they want to give them the skills that they need while they're there to be able to be better when they leave than when they got there. And
Yep.
so, and I think that's a fabulous way to think about that human capital.
Yep.
Yeah. So, we talked about the value offer in the intro, and I know what it is, but let's unpack that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So, the way I consider a value offer is kind of think of it almost like a slice of service. So, a value offer is something that's not going to be your core service, what you're trying to sell someone or pitch someone. It's not about that. It's really about what's something that I can kind of package up and give to somebody who is likely having the problem that I solve. And kind of like what I did with you, Paul, is kind of like, look, you're love to share some kind of quick tips about your LinkedIn profile in a quick video so you can kind of get some quick wins on making it more of a lead generating asset. It's some sort of messaging like that. And that's just an example of something you can offer, but it's not, I'm not trying to pitch anything, sell anything. I'm just saying, look, here's some free value, take it or leave it. But it's, if this is something you're interested in generating leads, this might be helpful. And that's it. And if you want to discuss further, we can, but it's really just putting it out there. And the idea is just giving value in whatever form. It could be a blueprint. It could be a guide. It could be a checklist. It might be a generic video that you recorded before and sending a link to that. It could be maybe like even a newsletter or some other kind of lead magnet that you might offer. So all kinds of things you can do. Could be a consultative call. So all kinds of things you can offer, but the idea is just making it something that they're going to get value out of and allows you to it kind of does a few things for you, really. It, number one, kind of qualifies your leads, because now anybody who says yes to that value offer, well, they're probably they have that problem, and they're probably going to be interested in what you actually do sell. And then it also allows you to demonstrate your expertise. So if it's a video or something or whatever you've put together that's of value, you now have a chance to show them, look, I know what I'm doing, and I can demonstrate my expertise for them. And the last thing that's really powerful that most people don't consider is that, usually when you're doing outreach, the typical thing is to send a bunch of messages, people say no or don't respond, and then you kind of forget about those people. But when you do a value offer, you're putting something in front of people, and a lot of people are going to say yes because it's just free and it's compelling, and they're going to say yes, send it over. And whether those people move forward with you, book a call, buy anything from you or not, they should be added into your marketing because they've given you permission to contact them and to send something. And, they can be added in then to your email list with permission, of course, but you're not throwing away all of the people you've reached out to. You're instead kind of bringing them into your marketing ecosystem, your email list, whatever it might be, and you're able to follow up with them, and they might now buy from you in a month or 3 months or 6 months down the road. So those are kind of the good benefits.
In that way, you can also provide additional value through your regular outreach, or regular nurture, I would call it. And I think one of the things that really sticks out to me, and I think this is a real key, is that you did a personalized video for me. You didn't just give me a lead magnet that's great for anybody who's looking to grow their business or get visibility on or get leads from LinkedIn, but you did it for me. You pulled up my profile, you drilled down it, and I could see it was done in real time. There's my most recent posts up there. There's my podcast episodes that I had on there, and you pointed out some things that I could take action on right away without ever talking to you again. And so that personalized approach, I think, might be the secret sauce to this value offer that just amplifies it. I mean, I agree, offering a lead magnet, as long as it solves a problem that I know that I have, but I wasn't thinking, I said, when I dove back into LinkedIn, rather, when I launched my podcast, because I wanted some more distribution channels, I went, oh, my profile is a lot better than it is today. And I thought
Right.
it was okay. And then you came along and went, oh gosh, burst my bubble. But you know, you helped me a lot. And so I'm thinking about that. I'm okay, what other assets do I want to put out there? And I know I need to be offering more value to the people who might be following me and who are finding me. And so that made me really think on a different level. So that was a really effective way to reach me.
Well, it's a good point. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
I'm glad it was valuable, and that's probably why we're here today. But
it
um,
is.
it's a good point because typically people think, oh, you have to kind of personalize craft each individual message that goes out as your first message, and that's really just not scalable. And
Yeah.
if you want to get any kind of volume out, and so what I tell people and work with my clients on is how do we add that personalization once they reply and they're actually interested in what we're offering. And what we're offering is not to sell them something again. So there's a big distinction here. We're not selling anything out of the gate. We're simply offering value. But we know that if someone raises their hand and says, yes, I want that value, well, they probably have that problem. And now we might be able to help solve that problem with something we do sell to them to kind of take it to the next step. But sort of think of it like like again, like a sliver of service where you're just simply and you're right, the more personalization you add to it, the better. But what's something you can really deliver to them that gives them value and is a personal approach, and it's just a matter of figuring out what that right thing is for you.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned the sliver or the splinter. That's what Ryan Dice calls it. And so when you look at your offer, your core offer, there are what I would call prerequisites. And so when I teach my lead machine private clients about how to come up with a lead machine or a lead magnet that they can plug into their lead machine, uh, that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at your core offer. Let's examine your offer, and there's probably a prerequisite that anybody who comes into your world has to do in order to come in. And so that might be an assessment. They need to assess where they are so that if they can grow from here to there, if they need to build their email list, well, how big is your list now? What are you doing? What works? What's not working? What assets do you have? So those are the kinds of things that those assessments and those first steps make really good lead magnets. And, if you're going to be generating leads on LinkedIn, if that's what your aim is, which is there's leads for career and there's leads for business. A lot of people want to get business on LinkedIn, and which I think is one thing that people don't think about. But so you've got to have a good profile that highlights what you do. So when people look at your profile, they can tell what you do and what's in it for me. Because if it's all about you, then I'm probably just going to go to the next one.
Yep, exactly right. It's got to be very client facing, and there's from top to bottom. Your banner, your headline, your call to action link that you can have in your profile, which a lot of people don't have. Your featured section, your about section, all of it should be very client facing. So it's all about them and less about you, which is sort of opposite and counterintuitive to what we all sort of thought about LinkedIn as it being more of kind of a resume jobs.
Yeah.
But it's really transitioned from that. Not that that doesn't exist anymore, but it's really transitioned into more of a networking site. It's not like the other sites because it's very much more about networking versus, look at my trip to Cabo or something. It's about connecting with people.
Yeah, I'd like to go to Cabo. There's that song by Van Halen, Cabo Wabo. That's a good song. Now that we're talking about profiles, what are some tips that we could take away that might be useful to kick it up? That you look at first.
Great question. I'll kind of give you just a few of the sort of the common problems I see that most people have with their profile. Starting with, most people's profile pictures are actually fine, and I don't, it's not as long as it's kind of your face. So that's a quick one to get out of the way. Just have a good one of your face, smiling is up close is fine. If you want to add a little branding, I put a little blue background on mine. That's fine too. But really, on the banner, the big thing is you want to make it kind of like a landing page where somebody is going to know exactly kind of who your offer is for and what your offer is in the first 3 seconds, right? You don't want to. That is not the time or place to be cute or clever. It's really the time to be clear. So you want that to be on your banner: who your offer is for, what your offer is, and just be very clear about that. Add a little bit of branding. That's great. And then make the sizing correct, right? You can just Google what the correct sizing is for a LinkedIn personal banner, and that'll help you create it in Canva, whatever you want to do.
Right.
The other thing is your headline, that little text that lives below your profile photo. Make that very client facing. So don't put your title, that you're a founder, CEO, whatever your title might be. There's all kinds of those people on LinkedIn, right? So in order to stand out, you want to put it in the kind of format I like to use with my clients is kind of the who, what, and how. So who your offer is for. So really spell like you're helping, who you're helping, be very specific about it is. And the more kind of specific you can be, the better. What your service is. So what you're offering, being very clear about that, and how you get the results. And you don't have to get way into that, but you want to talk about a little bit about, what's your methodology? Do you have a process? What's sort of your unique way of working with people? And you don't get a ton of room in that real estate there at the headline, but if you can nail those things, you're 99, better than 99% of the folks out there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then on the featured sections, the last thing I'll talk about is, a lot of people don't have creator mode turned on. And so you need to turn on creator mode. You can add a featured section and you can add a call to action link. So the featured section lives right below your headline and all of that. And it's a great place to kind of tell people what to do next. So both that and your call to action link can be turned on so that you can take your visitors and turn them into leads, right? And tell them very specifically with some good branding what they should do next. Should they book a call with you? Should they join your newsletter? Should they grab a lead magnet? And just be driving people, like thinking about it very intentionally. What's the next step you want your prospects to do after they come to your profile? So those are the kind of big glaring mistakes I see on most profiles.
Right. And you pointed all those things out to me and more, I think. So that's great. Let's talk more about, let's discuss and unpack the outreach part. You showed me a little bit the other day when we were on the call, which I was intrigued. And I joined a couple of groups and we're just kind of looking at that. So let's unpack the outreach part, because we talked about the personalization but we want to scale too. We know that we have to, if we're going to do outreach, and we're not going to be sleazy about it, but let's face it, we've got a job to do and we've got other things to do. So how do we go about that?
No, great. Yeah. Great question. And so, most folks kind of consider that they're pretty limited on LinkedIn, which actually isn't really the case. There are some limits, but a lot of people will focus more on connecting with people and kind of doing their messaging through connections. And that's fine. And you can do that, but you only get about 100 connection requests per week, depending on kind of what LinkedIn calls a social selling index score, which you can look at in Sales Navigator. It's very clear what your social selling index score is. If you haven't checked it, go and check yours and see what it is. They score you on 4 different categories. We won't get into all that, but that's going to determine kind of how flexible LinkedIn will allow you to be with some of the limitations they have. But the one that's pretty standard is you can connect with about 100 people a week, and maybe only half of those will connect with you. And so now that's 50 messages, right? Well, that's not very many. And so what you want to be doing is there's other ways to message folks on the platform. One of those ways is through open InMail. And that's if you do need Sales Navigator, but if you're doing any kind of prospecting at all, Sales Navigator is a very worthwhile investment at $79.99 a month. So sending InMails to open InMail profiles. Most people that have a paid version of LinkedIn, the default is to set their profile to open InMail, which means you can send them an InMail for free without using any of your credits. So that's the first way. And you can send 800 of those a month. So that gets you about 40 a day. during, weekdays, right? 40 times 20 is 800. Doing, not
Right.
that I like to do public math, but there it is. Um, and
Two
then the
times
other way,
four is eight.
yeah, you can send messages for folks that offer services. So if you look at their profile and they're offering a service, you can click on that. It's kind of like now it's kind of a blue shaded bar that lists the services they offer. If you click into that, you'll be taken to their service page, which you can send them a message that way. That's another channel you can use to message people. And you can send a number of those depending on kind of how much you're sending messages, where your profile's at. But then the other way is to send messages through groups. So if you join a group on LinkedIn, you can now message anybody else in that group. And a lot of folks don't know that or know any of these methods, but if you add all those up in the different channels, you can send well over 100 messages a day, which doesn't sound like a lot of fun. And that's why I have my service that helps folks. But it's, you can do it on your own. And if you put in the time and you're able to get those messages out and you have a good value offer, you're going to get results. You're going to generate leads. It's the fastest way that you're going to be able to have conversations with the right people.
Yeah, and one of the things that's interesting about the group approach is that, well, first of all, you've got to find people that are likely to be your ideal customer.
Mm-hmm.
And people who are in groups that are interested in topics that are around your core offer, such as lead generation or marketing or business growth or entrepreneurship or leadership or whatever it might be, or strokes, dealing with strokes and occupational hazards or whatever it might be, whatever your topic might be. There are likely to be people in groups that are around that topic, that are passionate about that topic, that you can then go and do that research and join those groups.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep, exactly.
That's more like finding fish in a bucket than the onesie twosie things you might do. Now, what I do is a lot of times I look for podcast guests and potential clients and strategic partners, and I usually, when I have a guest, I look at who's the influence and whose connections they are, and I go, oh, but gosh, they're also interested in this kind of thing, and
Mm-hmm.
I provide that kind of service, or they'd be a great strategic partner with mine because they serve the same audience, and their audience is looking to grow their business, and so they're a perfect strategic partner. And so that's how I go about it. But the group kind of amplifies that because there's a lot more people in that group that you could reach. So
Mm-hmm.
what's your method of contacting them? So how do you approach that without seeming like you're a pest?
Yeah, I think, and it really all goes back to developing the right value offer for the right people, and kind of talking about how, that the clients that you've worked with, might share a common problem. And if they're having that problem, here's something that you've maybe developed for your current clients that's working really well. I'm kind of speaking in this in generic terms, but this is the idea of kind of the framework of it is you have something that you would like to share based on the success you've had with other clients. Do you, and you always want to ask permission. Hey, can I send it your way? Would you mind if I sent it your way to have a look? If not, have a great day. Thanks. But you're just offering that value, and that's how you're starting these conversations, because, when you do it sort of the extreme opposite there's one end of the spectrum, which is like making small talk and, hey, how's the weather out there in Wisconsin? That's not really going to get the job done. It's going to take you a long time, and people don't really want to waste time talking about small stuff like that. So, but
No.
you also don't want to jump right into bed and say, hey, this is what I do. Let's get on a call, or here's my link to my website or something. Like, it's just like, no, right? So give me something I can potentially use, and that's how you start these conversations, and you can do it at scale as long as you're just doing it, is you're hitting that kind of relevance factor with your audience and your message.
Okay, all right, no problem.
Right. And you just try to open a loop, and you aren't asking for anything other than providing that value.
Mm-hmm.
And
Exactly.
and then you can move on. But you obviously you have to have a message that will resonate with the person that you're that you're going. But if you're going to scale it, you're going to have a few messages that you copy and paste, right? When you're actually doing this, you're going to sit down for an hour, and I'm prospecting today, and I'm going to go and look at these groups, and I'm going to visit these and see if there's anybody new, and so on. And so, how do you keep track of who didn't take your offer?
Yeah. So who didn't take your offer? I mean, I typically don't keep track of who didn't.
Uh-huh.
But I will say that if you're sending InMails, the person has to accept that initial message for you to even message again. So the system has like LinkedIn has good kind of guardrails so that you're not going to keep getting messages from someone unless you're a first degree connection. Then you can message freely back and forth. But if you're using an InMail, they have to accept that first message before you can send them another one. So there isn't really a keeping track, I would say, in that regard.
Yeah. Okay. So of those three, I think you mentioned three. Well, there's 3 or 4 different ways that you can channel. The one you showed me, which was groups, and I went, I like that one. And with the group, as soon as I started getting groups, I started getting those spammy messages for people who want to get on a call. And the cool thing about it is you can decline, and they don't know that you declined it, but you can just gracefully decline and just move on. And then you can also accept, and that opens that loop, right?
Yeah.
And so, of the methods that you mentioned, is the group the most effective, or is it all of them?
I mean, they're all pretty effective. I like the the InMail I like quite a bit because it goes to typically folks who have proven to be more active on the platform. So, if you're paying for a subscription for LinkedIn, you're probably somewhat active, right? You might not be on there every day or even every week, but you're going to get the InMail sent to your email address as well, whatever email address you have on file with LinkedIn. That's a kind of added benefit because it goes right into their inbox. But you're also just typically going to be reaching out to more active folks if you're sending InMails.
Gotcha. And so those people who are more committed to the platform, and they're either more committed to finding a new job or they're more committed to doing business. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that when you're doing that, you can also look at what groups they're in. That will help you get an idea for what they're interested in, and if there's any synergy between, whether or not you want to qualify and kind of mine the platform. So what are some tips on doing that?
Yeah. So the other thing that I'll kind of in line with that is who you should be connecting with. This is kind of something that I see most folks get wrong, where they just kind of go and try to connect with anybody that might be, in an ICP, their ideal client profile. And what works a lot better, especially if you're posting or putting out any kind of content, and even if you're not, is to look for those folks who are already commenting on other people's posts. So that's kind of how you mine for you want to be connecting with active users of the platform as much as possible, who also align with, are in your target audience and all those things. But look for the people that, that are commenting on posts already, because those people are going to be far more likely to comment on your posts, right? And those are the people who are active. And so, you want to be building your audience and connection list with as many of those people as possible, because that's what's going to give you more reach on the platform, because your audience is going to be full of engaged participants, right?
Right. Gotcha. Good point. And so what are some quick ways that we can get some quick wins, I guess, would be for someone just starting out, or someone who's obviously, I think you would want to look at your profile, right?
Yeah, that would be number one. Is just, I just kind of say, like, make sure your house is ready for your guests to arrive, right? So you want to make sure that's in order so people start visiting, and it's very clear and compelling about kind of who your offer is for and what your offer is, and really go for clarity over cleverness. You want people to know right away in a few seconds, just as if they were to go to a landing page, exactly kind of who you are, what you're all about, right? And so that's number one, and kind of those things I said earlier as we were talking about what to update in your profile. So another look at your profile, clear and compelling, who your offer is for, what your offer is. And then the next thing is I would think about what is a good value offer that you could develop to give to your prospects. And again, getting away from kind of the typical sort of boring, opt into this, or here's a cookie cutter thing for this. Like, how do you make it personalized, but also kind of quick to deliver? You don't want to spend an hour on each value offer for each prospect, but something that you can perhaps personalize is going to be really powerful. And how do you kind of deliver a quick slice of service for your prospects to make sure that you can demonstrate your expertise, qualify your leads, give yourself a reason to follow up, and potentially add those folks into your marketing list? So that would be kind of tip number two. And then the last thing is really developing what's a good messaging for each. Maybe you have different audiences, but coming up with something short and compelling that's really all about them, that's not about you. That's the vehicle that's going to deliver your value offer, right? So that messaging is really important. Don't make it long. Get to the point. Try to genuinely solve a problem for them, and go about it like as a way of not selling anything, but truly trying to help someone. And that makes it more fun for you. It makes it more fun for them. And, it just is, it's a good mixture all around.
Right. And do you have any tips for writing compelling messages?
Yeah, I mean, there's some kind of templates and formats I use, but it's going to be different. But I like to, for each kind of offer, but I like to kind of start by addressing either a problem or an interest that the prospect might have. Hey, is this something that you're struggling with, or that you might be interested in? If it is, here's a way I've helped some of my other clients by kind of starting with, and then you kind of talk about what the value offer might be. Wondering if this might make sense. Mind if I share this with you? If not, that's okay. And kind of take the pressure off at the end, right? So that's kind of the framework that makes sense and it works well. And keep it short, right? But keep it all about them and addressing and trying to help their potential problem, not about what you sell or what you do or what your title is, any of that.
Yeah. And when I'm listening to you describe this process, it comes back to what I teach my lead machine clients in my mastermind group. And I find myself coaching them through this a lot. And we come back, and you probably have the same experience, where a lot of people don't know who their clients really are. They don't really understand their who their audience is, or they don't really know how to articulate that. And therefore, if they don't know really, they start with their product and what problem it solves, but there's a lot of problems that surround your product or your service that you might not be aware of. And so it really, I recommend that you spend a lot of time on that, defining that. And lately with the advent of AI, it's so much easier to do that, especially if you have some clients and you've got some offers and you've got some success. You can tell the AI, you can describe who your audience is, who you think your audience is, and you can describe what your products are and your services, and you can have it do some research for you. You can tell it to act as an expert market research, and tell it what you want to get out of it, to help you come up with ideas for topics, for problems that they're struggling with. It has the vast knowledge of the internet, that can help you figure that out. And so that's kind of a shortcut to getting to that problem. And obviously that has to be related to your service and a problem that you can solve. But a lot of times we're so close to the problem, we don't step back and really do that work. And it's hard to do. It's hard to think about it, because most entrepreneurs, they're coaches or they're small business owners. They can do a lot of things to help their customers, especially if they're a life coach or a some kind of business growth coach or whatever they might be, a fitness coach. There's so many things that you can do. But I just want to get fit so that I can go to Cancun or Cabo.
Right.
So I can go to Cabo in 10 weeks, and that's the problem I want to solve today,
Yep.
And so that's a specific problem. And so as a fitness trainer, I've got, here's the plan for that. Here's a checklist. Here's some
Yep.
food that you should be eating. So those are some great ideas, leveraging that technology for doing that. So I think we just did this. We're getting almost close. What else? What else?
What else?
Yeah.
Yeah, good question. I think, you know, I think going like we talked about kind of a little bit earlier, I think where you can really start to see a compounding effect on just relating to LinkedIn is being, and people say this all the time, but being consistent in a really intentional way, and kind of knowing, being able to pick out who's going to be a really good fit to work with you. You'll start to see this as you kind of look at more and more profiles, but you'll start to see that, and just getting used to the platform and in a really consistent way, that only just compounds over time. And it's something that's going to kind of keep delivering. And it's an asset. I mean, I see your LinkedIn profile is more of an asset than anything else, that you kind of keep growing, and don't worry about if you're not hitting, not hitting crazy growth or virality. That's not what it's about. It's about kind of putting in the small, the reps every day if you're able to, in just meaningful ways, and that only compounds over time. And it's an asset that you'll be very, very glad you did that years from now. So that's kind of something I'd leave folks with.
Yeah, and also, I was thinking about, you mentioned this earlier. What about content? What about creating content and doing that consistently, and how does that affect your believability?
Yeah, I mean,
authenticity.
It adds so much credibility and authority to what you're doing. If and people think about content as something like, oh, it's such a headache, and I don't know what to post, I don't know what to do. And I say, come up with things that happen in your everyday life, problems that you're solving for your clients, problems that that you see out there in the world, and just simply talk about those. And don't think about it as a task, but think about it as more of a growth mechanism for you to get better at writing, to get better at explaining your offer, to get better at solving problems for your clients, for your prospects. And the more you can kind of think about it in terms of a growth avenue, instead of a chore, the more you're likely you are to do it and get better at it and make it more effective. So that's what I'd say on content, and don't overcomplicate it. Just do what you can, and consider it like you're getting better at writing and explaining those things.
Yeah, and I think also there's a video is super, super important these days, and doing short videos, or doing what we're doing here. We're having a discussion. We're talking about how to get leads on LinkedIn without being salesy, using a value offer. This content right here that we're creating can be used on your LinkedIn profile, or on your LinkedIn, in your newsletter, or whatever, or on YouTube, or etc. So podcast guesting is a fabulous way to create content, or having your own podcast, or doing videos on YouTube. Once you do the video, you can repurpose them. You can distribute them on Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter and wherever else you might want to. So that, if that's part of your, I think that needs to be part of your, if you're going to be a creator, you need to create content. And you need to, if you want to prove that, yep, when Tom reaches out, oh yeah, I know Tom. He's the guy that does the referral thing. Yeah. And oh yeah, that's right. He's in that space that I'm interested in, because I don't know anything about LinkedIn. And so I read his thing about using AI to come up with better messaging for my LinkedIn outreach, for instance.
Right.
And so then you have that credibility. So yeah, it's been great having you on, Tom. What are 3 things, as you wrap up with your final words, what are 3 things our users can do, our listeners can do today? And I think we just covered some of them, but what are 3 things that our listeners can do to put these ideas into action today and start getting leads online?
Yeah.
On their LinkedIn.
Yep, exactly. I would say get your profile in order, get your value offer down, and start messaging on your own, and really just test out, and don't be afraid to fail a little bit in the beginning. But these are things you can do right now to start generating leads, and you just tweak them over time and see what works. And once you find something that's really resonating, you'll have a lot of fun by just getting this out there, actually helping people and talking to them about what you can do next for them.
Yeah, and just getting started. I just had a guest on Bob Sparkins from Lead Pages, and he wrote a book called "Take Action, Revise Later." And so, and I think that messaging and doing anything like this, it's going to take a little time for you to get acclimated and to get comfortable with it. And you're going to make some mistakes, and your value offer might not be great out of the get-go, but you can iterate, you can rinse and repeat, and do that until you get something that works, and then you can scale that up and just keep doing it, being consistent. And I think adding the content is also important.
Yep, exactly right.
But Tom, it's been great having you. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much. Tom has a special gift for our listeners today. It's his social selling master newsletter, and you can get that at www.leadmachinegrowthshow.com/social-selling. That's www.leadmachinegrowthshow.com/social-selling. And also check out on the page, the show notes page, you'll be able to reach Tom and get linked up with him on LinkedIn and check him out and check out what he's up to. And as we sign off, remember, faith and action go hand in hand. So put the pedal to the metal. Until the next time on the Lead Machine Growth Show, I'm Paul Guyon and Tom Ryan. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you for tuning in to the Lead Machine Growth Show with Paul Guyon, where we show you how to tackle your tech, master your message, and design your dream so that you can transform your vision into reality. Remember to visit our website at www.leadmachinegrowthshow.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Lead Machine Growth Show.